All right, y'all, gather around. I'm going to share a little story tonight about a group of friends on a camping trip. But things didn't go like they'd planned. It all happened deep in some woods, much like where we find ourselves today. The sun was high, birds sang, laughter echoed through the trees. Three friends, eager to escape the city, unloaded their gear. Their campsite, nestled near a babbling brook, was idyllic. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. Excitement filled the air as they pitched their tents, a sense of adventure hanging heavy. One friend, Sarah, pointed towards the dense woods. "Let's explore a bit before it gets dark," she exclaimed. The woods beckoned, sunlight dappling the forest floor. They set off, their laughter echoing behind them. The trail was clear at first, marked with the occasional hiker's blaze. Deeper they went, the air growing cooler. The playful mood shifted. The forest felt different now, somehow heavier, as if an unseen presence watched their every move. The once vibrant green seemed to dull, the shadows stretching longer with each passing moment. The trail narrowed, leaves crunching underfoot. The sun, now hidden behind a thick canopy of leaves, cast long, eerie shadows. The friends pressed on, their earlier confidence waning. They stopped at a fork in the path, unsure which way to go. A sudden gust of wind rustled the leaves, sounding like whispers carried on the breeze. They spun around, searching for the source of the sound, but saw nothing. "Did you hear that?" whispered Emily, her voice trembling slightly. The others nodded, their smiles gone. They pressed on, choosing a path seemingly at random. The forest grew darker, the air heavy with moisture. The smell of damp earth intensified, mixed with the faint scent of decay. They shivered, pulling their jackets tighter around them. The light was fading fast, and with it, their sense of direction. Night fell quickly, enveloping the forest in an oppressive darkness. The temperature plummeted. They were hopelessly lost, the once familiar woods now a labyrinth of shadows and unseen dangers. Panic began to set in. "We should have marked our path," said John, his voice tight with worry. "It's too dark to see anything now." They huddled together, their breath misting in the cold air. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. The forest seemed to come alive with unseen eyes watching their every move. A low growl echoed in the distance, sending a jolt of fear through their hearts. They clung to each other, their fear a palpable thing in the cold night air. The hours dragged on, each one an eternity. The darkness seemed to press in on them, amplifying every sound. They stumbled through the undergrowth, desperate to find their way back to the trail. The growl they had heard earlier seemed closer now, circling them. They could feel their hearts pounding in their chests, their breaths shallow and ragged. Suddenly, a pair of eyes flashed in the darkness, reflecting the faint moonlight. They froze, their blood running cold. The eyes blinked slowly, watching them with an unnerving intelligence. Then, with a rustle of leaves, the creature was gone. They didn't speak, but they all knew they were being hunted. Their every instinct screamed at them to run, to hide, to do anything to escape the unseen terror that stalked them through the darkness. Panic broke their fragile unity. They scattered, each one running blindly through the darkness. Sarah tripped over a root, falling heavily to the ground. She lay there for a moment, her breath knocked out of her. When she finally got to her feet, she was alone. The forest seemed to press in on her, the darkness suffocating. She called out for her friends, her voice trembling, but only silence answered her. The sound of her own voice, thin and reedy in the vastness of the forest, only heightened her sense of isolation. She stumbled on, her clothes torn, her body weary. The forest was a maze, twisting and turning, offering no escape. She was lost, alone, and utterly terrified. Just when her hope began to dwindle, the first light of dawn pierced through the canopy. The darkness that had seemed so oppressive moments before now retreated, revealing the forest in a new light. The shadows that had seemed so menacing now appeared as mere tricks of the light. As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the forest floor, a strange calm settled over her. The forest, once a place of terror, now seemed almost peaceful. The sounds that had terrified her just hours before, the rustle of leaves, the snapping of twigs, now seemed almost welcoming. She took a deep breath, the fresh morning air filling her lungs. With the rising sun came a renewed sense of hope. She was still lost, but she no longer felt alone. Following the rising sun, she stumbled upon a familiar sight, the babbling brook from their campsite. Relief washed over her. She wasn't far now. As she rounded a bend, she saw them, John and Emily, sitting huddled together near their tents. They looked up as she approached, their faces etched with relief. They rushed to her, engulfing her in a hug. They spent the day packing up their campsite, their earlier enthusiasm replaced with a newfound respect for the wilderness. As they drove away, the forest loomed large in their rearview mirror. They knew they would never forget their night lost in the woods. It was a harrowing experience, one that taught them the importance of preparation, the power of fear, and the unyielding strength of hope, even in the darkest of nights. All right, folks. The moral of that story is be mindful of how much daylight you have left before you wander away from this here camp. Also, everyone check your packs and make sure you have your flashlights and your whistles with you at all times. Things can happen out here, but if you're properly prepared and smart, then this will be a weekend camping trip you'll tell your kids about someday. Now someone please hand me a Gatorade out of that cooler and let's roast these marshmallows.